The word coming out of Brentford was that they expected a medical to be booked in. They expected Manchester United to reach full agreement. I don't see how United can't get this deal done.
Jadon Sancho's next contract is not going to be anywhere near 250 grand a week.
But he could have a Lukaku kind of story
Absolutely,
if he
was willing
to cut the cord, reinvigorate himself. There is a road back.
If Marcus Rashford gets to Barcelona, he's a very lucky boy. But that apart, wherever they go, the other four, and Jadon Sancho in particular, you are going to be taking a step down. You are going to be leaving one of the most historic football clubs in world football because you've not delivered and you are not going to take a step up.
Why can't we make Rashford part of the negotiations to get someone like Frankie de Jong, who's in the final year of his contract, over the line? Why can't we do that?
Jean-Philippe Mateta, wouldn't cost the world, proven in the Premier League, job done.
Marc-Andre ter Stegen was brought up. Until we figure out what's going on with this goalkeeper situation, he's a name that excites me in a sense.
Ollie Watkins, he should be prime target for Man United.
This is going to be better than last season. He promised us, didn't he?
Yeah.
On the pitch, Ruben Amorim, after the last home game. This is the nadir, and it has to be.
Hello and welcome to Inside Devils, sponsored by MUTV on Sky. A must for Man United fans to watch every pre-season fixture live and exclusive. Watch anytime, anywhere, T's and C's apply. Now, there's not long to wait before we kick off our 2025 tour, but there's been plenty of action off the field that we're going to get stuck into. Joining me, as always, is Alex Crook, Angelina Kelly, and, of course, Ryan Stat Douglas. Been enjoying your summer? Been having a bit of a sunbathe? It's been hot in this country. It's been hot. Been enjoying it?
It has. Yeah. I had a little trip to Spain, got another one to Portugal lined up, but the phone's always on, you know that. We had a meltdown, didn't we, just before we came on air?
No, you had a meltdown.
Because the phone switched itself off. What were we going to do? But Angelina, not
we
for
have
the first
sorted
time.
it. So if there's any breaking news during this recording, we will have it. I'd love to see that. For you, Angelina, been sunning it up? Been chilling?
Yeah. All good, nice little holiday, looking after Crookie as usual.
PA?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's what we want to hear. And for you, Ryan, collating stats in the off-season, get ready for next year, or just leave them to the side because it's a break?
Yeah, you know me, I'm cooking up in the lab, don't worry about that, just ready for the new season. I'm constantly pressing refresh on transfers as well, waiting for that gossip.
Waiting for Crookie to give us something.
Yeah, looking at Crookie's Twitter feed, just waiting.
Absolutely, that is true. Right, let's kick things off with one of the most talked about parts of the off-season. It is, of course, the transfer window. We've already seen our new number 10, Matheus Cunha, in his first training session this week, and he was followed in by new defender Diego Ryon. But who else could we expect to see walk through the door at Carrington before we start this season? Crookie, the best place and the easiest place to start is going to be at the door of Brentford and Bryan Mbeumo. What is going on with this deal? What is the latest with this proposed deal for the player to come to Man United?
Well, it should be easy because while I was over in Spain, 3 weeks ago now, the word coming out of Brentford was that they expected a medical to be booked in. They expected Manchester United to reach full agreement. And obviously here we are, X amount of weeks later. I'm getting pelters on social media because that medical hasn't gone through. Still being told by Brentford sources that the two clubs are not that far away. I know that some journalists have reported otherwise, so you have to respect that information. But I don't see how United can't get this deal done. They've got Cunha through the door, but this is a team who finished 15th in the Premier League last season, the worst season the club have had in the Premier League era. You look at Arsenal doing big business this week to get in the likes of Victor Gyökeres, Noni Madueke. They've already signed Norgard and Zubamendi as well. Liverpool, the champions, have smashed the British transfer record. They're strengthening from a position of power and authority. Manchester City doing big deals before the Club World Cup. Chelsea look to have done great business with João Pedro in particular. Manchester United in danger of being left behind, and Ruben Amorim has made it pretty clear his two priority targets this summer, as I understand it, were Cunha and Mbeumo. One is there. Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada have got to go and deliver on the other.
Well, they do. Last season it was Ugarte, Mazraoui and De Ligt. They didn't arrive until August, so clearly, again, if that was to have a repeat of that, is not helpful. Bryan Mbeumo, 20 Premier League goals last year. No one's done that at United since Van Persie. That'll be playing on Amorim's mind in that he needs the support. Like you said, we have finished 15th. He made it very, very clear, didn't he, at the end of the season, how quickly he wanted to move. We've heard Omar Barada speak during the post-season tour in Kuala Lumpur about, again, they want to do things quickly, effectively. They're not afraid to walk away from deals. What do you think is the hold-up then? If you think, why can't they get this deal done and not that far apart, what do you think the hold-up is?
Well, I think there's a fine line, isn't there, between wanting to get deals done quickly and not being seen to pay over the odds for players, as United have been guilty of in the past. the cynic in me is thinking, we know he's going to earn in excess of 200 grand a week. The longer it drags on, the more they save in wages. But by not signing him on the 1st of July, they've already saved 400 grand. Honestly, is that the way that Manchester United
Wait an extra couple of months.
Yeah, could be. That's a good
Wouldn't
shout.
surprise me.
Do you know what, when you talk about like saving money, X, Y, and Z, what about getting money? What players out the door? I mean, we're talking about 5 players that are now they're clocking in for the evening shift. There's a shift pattern. Do you know what I mean? How come we've not heard like anything about departures, Crookie?
Because a lot of them are on big money. Chelsea, my understanding was, offered Jadon Sancho a very lucrative wage deal in order to turn that loan transfer into a permanent one. He rejected it. Chelsea paid £5 million to send him back to United. Who's going to match the wages he's earning? Who's going to pay Marcus Rashford in excess of 300 grand a week? He seems to only have his sights set on Barcelona. So it's not easy. I think actually, I said this right at the start of the window, the most advanced, I think, is probably Anthony and Real Betis, because unlike the others, he does seem to be willing to take a pay cut. He wants to make that move permanent. But it's not a great situation, is it, when you've got 5 fairly senior players, a couple of them right at the top of the pay scale, sneaking in through the back door as Ruben Amorim and the rest of the players are leaving through the front entrance. They've got to get a hold of this. They've got to get it sorted quickly as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Onana, we've seen that he's had a hamstring injury. He's going to miss pretty much all of pre-season, and he's in a fight to get fit potentially for the first game of the season against Arsenal at Old Trafford. Do you think that's going to affect Manchester United's business? Will that ramp up the need for a goalkeeper? We have heard reports that has been a position that has been looked at internally, but there was no sort of big push for it. But now he's got a big injury for 6 to 8 weeks. Could that change the thinking of?
I think in some ways it makes it more complicated because the only way they were going to finance a deal for a new number one and Emi Martinez, for example, although I think that was being pushed more by his camp than it was by United, was by selling Anana. Now, they weren't queuing up anyway when he was fit. They're certainly not going to be queuing up after 6 weeks injured. He's going to miss the start of the season. So I don't think they can afford to recruit a number one. They're going to probably end up signing a number 2 who they believe can put pressure on Anana. I know John Victor at Botafogo has been mentioned. His release clause is fairly minimal, around about £6 million. A couple other names that arrived at my door this week. Nick Pope at Newcastle, if they sign James Trafford, maybe could be available. Sam Johnston at Wolves, who's got a little bit of Premier League experience and isn't going to break the bank. And then there's a lad called Carl Rushworth at Brighton, very highly rated. They're trying to get him to sign a new long-term contract. But obviously, he's not going to get past Bart Verbruggen. He wants to go and play. There's been interest from Premier League, Championship clubs and Rangers as well. So I think that's probably the type of signing that United will make and hope that whoever they bring in as number 2 is good enough to challenge Anana. And if he's not up to it, keep him out the team. And if not, at least push him on to be a good goalkeeper, because we're struggling in that department.
I mean, for you, Hans, does this or should this change the transfer strategy for United? It was already difficult. It is proving difficult. We need players through the door. Anana's had his ups and downs, to say the least. He's struggled at times for confidence and form. If he does have a long-term injury, which looks like he does for the whole of pre-season, so he's not going to be there, should United be looking to maybe fast-track a decision to look in a different direction or something else?
I think it's a tough one. For me, I never saw, and I get people have different opinions, I get that people thought the goalkeeper has to be the priority. For me, it was more the attackers because, United set a new record for the least amount of goals that they scored. It was a record low 44 goals. This season, I think, was that in the league. So you look at that and you think, we need the goals. So for me, the attackers were always the priority. Now you look at this situation, you do have to think. I was listening to a podcast where they said it's almost like the Van der Sar, Ben Foster situation when he was injured and you've kind of got Ben Foster going in and you're thinking, this isn't really like, we've kind of got to do this, but there wasn't that much confidence. And I think you look at Bayern Day, yeah, there was that great cup game, but in reality, do we have that much confidence in him? And then you've got 39-year-old Tom Heaton, is it?
Go on, Tomo. Reliable.
As much as he seems like a really nice person and has quite a good vibe about him, he'd probably be good on a night out, to be fair. But that's not what I'm looking for.
Good keeper as well. Good keeper in his day.
Yeah, of course. But I think you look at Onana in that 22-23 season when he was great over in Italy. I think it's a massive confidence thing with him. I've always tried to back him, but with this injury situation now, I think it has got to become a priority with the goalkeeper. Who it is, I don't know. I know you guys were into the Emi Martinez thing. I'm not convinced by him, to be completely honest. But I think going into this season, if we do get Mbeumo and Cunha, then as much as we might not have that number 9, we at least have goals in other areas, which I think will massively help Rasmus Højlund, maybe take a weight off him mentally, that it's not just all on him. So, yeah, I guess goalkeeper now has to be the next port of call.
Yeah, I think for me, I'll be honest, you try to keep calm because you know the transfer window is a really tough time for many clubs, right? Especially with us in our financial situation. We've been very open about that, very clear about where we stand and how difficult it is of where we're at. But I look at how quickly we started with Cunha being done. Then, like Crookie, like you said, 6-7 weeks ago now, was a lot on Bryan Mbeumo, which looked like that should be relatively easy. It still hasn't happened. You mentioned there, Crookie, a lot of clubs doing a lot of business, and we're not even in sort of direct competition as it is at the top end of the Premier League because we've got a process to go through. It's unrealistic it's unrealistic for us to win the Premier League next year. But I just worry, we've only won through the door. We're going to get to pre-season in Sweden, first friendly game this weekend. Then it's very, very quick to US tour. I'm starting to get a bit nervous. I'll be honest, Ryan. I'm starting to get a little bit worried that, Ruben needs support.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got a lot to answer for, and he needs to show the best of his coaching capabilities and the time on the training field. That's parked. But us as fans, we also understand, as does he, as does the hierarchy, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, etc., that investment into the squad is what's needed. Manchester United going public that 5 players need to be leaving the football club shows me the intent of what they have. But I'm still very worried at this stage that there's not more. Yeah, I'm getting a bit jittery.
Yeah, me too. My hands are getting a bit clammy just thinking about it.
Because you don't want to just shout from the rooftops all the time just because someone else buys a player and you don't. Because all of a sudden, you can sign 2 in quick succession, then you've got 3 by a certain point. And you go, actually, it wasn't that bad. We ended up at the right destination. But with the track record and where we've finished, plus the problems and the finances, and we need to wait for some to leave, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
It does look worrying.
It does, and you know what? Mbeumo coming through the door would be fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I'm not questioning the quality of him whatsoever. I think he elevates most squads in the Premier League. However, I'm going to put an argument forward that we've been prioritising now for over 40 days worth of negotiation, a position that shouldn't be a priority, in my opinion. It shouldn't be. It's value added, yes, but the striker itself and the goalkeeper should be the priority. And the reason why my hands are getting a bit clammy, like we said, we're getting a bit nervous, is because we're not even linked to anyone strongly in those 2 positions, and pre-season's about to get going. So I don't doubt these links will start to come. However, personally, I'd have liked it to have happened pre-season. I'm watching Arsenal fix that puzzle, that missing piece in Gyökeres. I'm watching Liverpool, like you said, the number 10, and more frighteningly, 2 fullbacks that are going to probably tear up the Premier League. I'm watching Spurs book medicals in for Kudus and Gibbs White like that. And it's been over 40 days for Manchester United and still no Mbeumo through the door. And like I say, we need a striker and we need a goalkeeper. For me, those are the 2 alarm bells. So I'm hoping, and I don't doubt Manchester United, I'm sure we will. I'm just hoping that over the coming weeks, those links start to get stronger with somebody. I mean, there's some names out there that I could throw out there, but I just want to see something concrete, Flex.
We do need to see it. For you, Crookie, how do you feel about the transfer window so far? Because as fans, of course, we want everything quickly, and we're entitled to after finishing 15th, so we know the surgery is needed on the squad. But as you sit back and look at it, what's your assessment of it so far? Are you getting worried, or do you think no, we'll be all right just a little while longer?
No, I think it's underwhelming. As I say, when you look at what the other clubs are doing, Tottenham, I didn't even mention at the top of the programme, but you're right. Kudus, I think, will be a good signing for them.
Similar to Mbeumo as well, by the way. That similar kind of dynamic profile, one of the best players in that squad. Boom, got him.
Yeah. Yeah, and got the deal done pretty quickly, really.
Yeah.
Went in with one offer that wasn't acceptable to West Ham because of the nature of the add-ons. Go back in with the second, and they find some middle ground. The fact we've had this sort of standstill with Mbeumo, I think, is concerning. And the big thing we wanted this summer, I think, was that Ruben Amorim would have a full pre-season to work with his players. Well, he's not working with his players, is he? Because they've only signed one in Matheus Cunha. I think will be a good addition. But clearly, a team that finished 15th isn't a lot more surgery.
Did that add pressure, getting Cunha that quickly? I know we didn't announce him till into July, but we couldn't sign until then, but he was announced before then. Did that sort of, I don't know, trick us into thinking we're just going to reel these off? Because then the Mbeumo links came very quickly after that, and we were quite advanced, and we've just been stuck at that stage. But did that maybe lure us into a false sense of security with the Mateus Cunha.
Yeah, maybe, because I think if you got Cunha through the door and then you follow it up quickly with Bryan Mbeumo,
That would have been perfect.
suddenly you're cooking and you're thinking, well, this is going to be a good transfer window. I do agree with Ryan, by the way. I think if you've got £60 million to spend, which is what it's going to take, probably in excess of that to get Mbeumo, then maybe you'd have been better off spending £60 million on an actual number 9, unless they're going to play Mbeumo as a number 9. He probably could do that. He has done that at times in his career. The goalkeeping situation, as I say, has become a complicated one, but you look at Newcastle even. Newcastle are in Germany as we speak, trying to get this deal done for Ugo Ekitike.
No one left for us. Who are we going to...
Well, they're another team that United would want to try and get past next season. The likes of them and Villa, Chelsea, who sort of snuck into the top 4 on the last day. João Pedro looks an absolute revelation already for them. So you look at it, you'll probably ask us at some point, if not today and over the summer, what's the aim for United this season? And suddenly you're thinking, well, the top 6 is going to be very difficult to smash into, particularly with only one signing.
And Rio Ferdinand told talkSPORT earlier in the week that Man United should just go all out for Victor Osimhen. He does look like he's on his way to Galatasaray. It does look pretty much done. But at the time he said that wasn't quite the case. But do you think that's something United should have really tried to do, or was it just his wage demands were probably not going to be there? And if not, what are we doing in this striker situation?
I completely get that, and I was always looking at Victor Osimhen. I think we've mentioned him quite a bit on this show about how he would be that perfect, more experienced striker that could be working alongside someone like Rasmus Højlund, taking that pressure off. Working with someone like that in training could be massive for his confidence as well. So for me, it was disappointing. I would have liked to have seen that happen, but I guess it was complicated because he was going to the Saudi Pro League, then he wasn't. Then this Galatasaray thing, and I know that there's a big conversation about wages and what he would have wanted, and do Man United want to keep paying the amount of money that they're paying with these wages, and this whole Man United tax of maybe why Jason Wilcox is sitting back on making signings and these bids with Mbeumo and stuff. Is it because we don't want to fall into this trap of just bidding and bidding and bidding, and it's going up and up and up, and everyone knows about this Man United tax that people basically think that they can try and take advantage a little bit. So you've got all that in the equation, but I think for me, a striker is a massive priority, but it's more for me this Crookie calls the infamous 5. These 5 players that need to be heading towards the exit door, and they're not. And you look at somebody like out of everybody. The most frustrating one for me is someone like Jadon Sancho, where there's this discussion about, again, it comes back to wages. He doesn't want to take this wage cut. And I just think, well, how much do you want to be a professional footballer? Because sometimes you've got to take these wage cuts. You look at someone like Romelu Lukaku, right? Left Man United, a lot of talk about him being a flop. He ends up signing for Inter Milan, takes a wage cut, then he gets a £100 million deal to Chelsea, where he's gone from being on about, 150k a week to 300 and odd. So sometimes, happiness isn't always in the money. And I think you look at the under-17s team that he was in that won the World Cup, Phil Foden, Morgan Gibbs-White, you've got someone like Saka who's a year younger, Cole Palmer who's 2 years younger. These people are killing it, and it's really sad to see because you think you were one of these players. You could be one of these players, and we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but that one for me, with this whole transfer situation, that's what's worrying me the most.
I think when I look at what I've managed to tell myself to keep calm is, you know what, Flex, these players are going to make these moves on their own terms. And that's what's difficult about it. Now the club has gone public and said, these 5 players are looking for new clubs. If you're in the players' camp and you're the players' agents, they're not going to hurry up their moves to help Man United get money for them. So they're just going to wait for the clubs that they specifically want to go to. And then guess what? That takes out time out of the window for us and takes away from our preparation time. And as the window goes on, if option A isn't there, then their agent goes, right, what's option B? Then more clubs start coming as maybe the price goes down. Man United get a little bit more desperate to shift them.
Well, they're still paying the big wages.
And they're still got paid the big wages because last time I checked, these players got legally bounding contracts that say, you must pay me this until this contract expires or I'm sold. Yeah. So I do take your point. And about, if you look at Jadon Sancho, maybe why didn't he take a pay cut? But I just think there'll be advice there saying, listen, no matter what happens, you will be paid this. If you go on loan, you will still be paid this. If you get sold, you will be paid off and be paid this, and then you accept. And he goes on a free next year. Goes on a free. He's got all the cards, all the power.
The way I think about it, though, is that, like, his stock sitting on the bench at Man United, that stock is going to go down. Yeah. So even if he does, you know, still earn this money short term with Man United, he's never going to get close to that again, I don't think, because your stock is going further down.
But that's why I think it. That's exactly why I think it's. You're not going to get. Jadon Sancho's next contract is not going to be anywhere near 250 grand a week.
But he could have a Lukaku kind of story
Absolutely,
if he was willing to cut the cord and make that move and try to, you know, reinvigorate himself. There is a road back. And, you know, there could be a road back for somebody like Marcus Rashford as well. There's always a road back for players, I think, when you have that core talent. And that's the bit that I don't get, because for short-term loss, I mean, it's not like he's going to be on minimum wage, is it? Do you know what I mean? For a short-term loss, you could get a long-term gain, because he's going to turn around and look at the end of his career and think, I was in that under-17, you know, with someone, as much as people talk about Phil Foden not having the best season last season, you know, you look at, I was with someone like Phil Foden, look at what he's won, look at the career that he's had, and I've maybe just sat here and prioritised the wrong things, maybe.
For you, Ryan, how much of a hindrance is that? You know, the fact that we need players to leave to free up, you know, resources and funds, but they're probably going to do it on their own terms, and that's going to take time. Yeah, you know, that's absolutely not ideal for Ruben Amorim, but these are the sins of the past we're dealing with.
Do you know what? It's a good point that you raised there about the time and everyone doing it on their own. I come to the conclusion, Man United are just going through and experiencing a natural order. It's just a natural order of things. It's, you know, we maybe overpaid for players, we maybe given players too much salary. We all know this, and now we've made the bed, we're lying in it, and unfortunately we're having to experience it. Yeah, you know, Ange mentions, you know, Sancho being. I mean, you could make a case for all of them being quite alarming why they haven't left yet.
Garnacho's turned down the chance to, you know, play with his idol, the person that he thinks he actually.
Well, there you go. Ambition. I want to stay in the league. I want to stay in Europe.
Do you know what? You're right though. Like this, my point about Garnacho is obviously his attitude off the field gets questioned a lot, but on it, I've never seen a problem with it. You talk about the fact that he came. I've said it before, but he came out and said, "I'm not starting this Europa League final." But when he played, head down, you know, one of the best attacking threats for us in that 20 minutes. And so he clearly still has ambition, which is good to see. But surely there'll be clubs queuing up for Garnacho. Surely there would be.
I think he'll get a move. He will get a move. He will.
Napoli are interested.
But it's not this early.
It depends what kind of move, because
I think.
Yeah, because I think he has
from 15th at United.
I think he has to be a first team. I think he's got to be in a starting 11 because he couldn't deal with the competition at United. No. So going to Chelsea, for example, there's not a chance in the world that even when he was an option for Chelsea that he would have been able to have dealt with the competition there. And this is not me actually trying to be horrible about him at all. I'm just being honest. I think that he needs to be a guaranteed starter for him to feel comfortable and have that confidence. So I guess in that sense, if you take Man United's position in the Premier League table, you take it more just of like a big club, I agree. I think it would be a step down. I'm not saying that he's going to be in the Championship, but I think it would be a step down, and he's got to be realistic.
I tell you what, he doesn't need a PR agent, doesn't he, all the time that he's got Ryan? Are we talking about the new Messi here? I mean, I know he thinks he's the new Ronaldo. But seriously, did you see him in the second half of last season? Look at his numbers.
You look at his age.
You think clubs should be queuing up?
Look at his age.
Look at his attitude. Look at his entourage.
Is he a good player, Cookie?
He's all right.
Come on.
If João Pedro's going for 55 million,
João Pedro's a better player than Garnacho.
In terms of what he's done, like his technique and who he is, but in terms of what Garnacho's done for his, here's what happens, right? This is what I have worked out as well at United, because it's gone so bad, right? And the players have been part of record-breaking horror, right? Where we're just shocking. What happens is we downplay their value outside of the club, like. Garnacho in like an Atletico Madrid team, if he played for AC Milan or if he played on a continent for Napoli, we could be talking about another Scott McTominay story. I think he'll be fine.
He's going to do well somewhere else.
Because he will. Only as well.
This guy who demanded to start the Europa League final scored 1 goal in 15 European games last season.
Yeah, but he scored more goals in the season before.
We were playing the dog and duck every other week.
Yeah, he scored more goals in the season before than you know. Garnacho, listen.
So did Anthony before he left. Look at him.
Garnacho was a good player.
He's all right.
God forbid Ahmad has a bad half season.
I tell you what, Ahmad has got that Garnacho hasn't. He's got attitude and application.
So far, Garnacho was a good player.
We're building up this OK player as the second coming of
Garnacho is not just an OK player.
He is only an OK. Otherwise, they would be queuing up at the door. They're not, are they? You just said.
Right, cue all the clips where we were banging on about in the season before. Cue all of the clips. We were saying that he was the guy.
But
we were saying
when the moment has come to step up to the plate, when we have had our worst season, he flopped.
When a new manager came in and he was in a new system,
This is
and
your
we've all
moment,
admitted
it's
he
sink or
doesn't
swim.
have a position
Ahmad was
there.
swimming.
Yeah,
Ahmad rose to the occasion. Bruno, who had a terrible start to the season, rose to the occasion. The fact of the matter is,
he showed more character than
he
Garnacho.
just
I've heard it all now.
He didn't rise to the occasion. That was his moment to stand up and be counted, and he didn't stand up. Instead, he sulked.
No, he didn't, though. He didn't sulk. He tries and tries and tries and tries. So the last 10 games of the season, everyone said he couldn't cross with his left foot. He was putting the ball on the penalty spot. Yeah, he was putting the ball on the penalty spot every single time. He's still a player that's growing. Look, he's gone. He's gone. But what I'm saying is, he'll do well somewhere else. He will do well somewhere else.
I agree.
Of course he will.
I agree.
Yeah, but
I
where
agree.
that is,
He'll
I
do
think
well.
it's difficult to place
I think what it is, again, through our emotional hurt, we go too far left or too far right. There's some people in the United fan base that say, like I said, Garnacho, he'll be playing for Valladolid.
No, but I'm in the middle.
Or,
He's OK. He's not brilliant. He's not terrible.
But when he leaves...
Can he be brilliant?
If he sorts his attitude out, I think if he sorts his attitude out...
Yeah, attitude, maybe. I agree.
If he grows up a bit...
I agree.
Okay, right. We're gonna move on because I think we'll be stuck on this for the whole show. But here it lies, and look, and we wonder why we can't sell anyone. We can't even agree anything in house. What do you think is going on at Carrington?
Can I just say to these 5 players, by the way, when you leave Manchester United, and I know they finished 15th last year, the last decade has been fairly dismal. They've still been in 9 finals in 10 years. Usually, the only way is down, right? If Marcus Rashford gets to Barcelona, he's a very lucky boy. But that apart, wherever they go, the other 4, and Jadon Sancho in particular, you are going to be taking a step down. You are going to be leaving one of the most historic football clubs in world football because you've not delivered and you are not going to take a step up.
Maybe historically they'll be taking a step down. But if Garnacho goes to Napoli, that's a step up.
Scott McTominay, Crookie, I think with that one, again, I hear parts of what you're saying, but the emotion of those players' actions versus like the reality of where the club is. Scott McTominay just took a step up.
How many Napoli shirts you see around the world?
I agree with that.
Scott McTominay, right? Good pro,
good player,
good lad, top,
good player.
But I guess the reasons for his departure.
But what I'm saying is though, at the time, like you said, misprofiled, played in a midfield pivot. We're going, that's
tremendous
just not
attitude.
Great attitude. But what we're talking about ability, we're going. We need better.
But
We're saying we need better.
Was it more a financial decision, though?
Right, absolutely, PSR. But what I'm saying is, though, in terms of when everyone leaves, they take a step down. Scott McTominay's just taken a step forward, and he's player of he's MVP in Serie A.
If you went around the world and you did a straw poll, you spoke to 100 football fans, right?
Yeah.
And you said to them, "Do you know Scott McTominay or do you know Jadon Sancho?" Yeah. More of them would be aware of Jadon Sancho because he plays for Manchester United.
Agreed.
Yeah, but McTominay's got more appearances for Man United than Jadon Sancho. He's put more work in at United than that.
My point is that globally, this is still one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
But I just think with where we are for the next couple of years, actually, this is actually the hurtful thing. There's loads of step-ups from us, I think, actually.
Of course there is.
I think, look at Neil Langer. Mate, we sold him for 15 million. Hang on, I'm not saying bring him back, Rookie. I'm not saying bring him back. I'm saying, if you're talking about football-wise, well, he's playing in the Champions League. He's playing at Newcastle United. He's going to be with Isak. He's going to be with Bruno Camara. He's going to be with Anthony Gordon. He's going to be with Joe Linton. They're better than us. That is the step up from 2 years ago when he was in and out of the Man United team, sold for 50 million. 2 solid years at Forest, where Forest were knocking on the door for. So in the last 3 years, that's been a step up.
That's a matter of fact, that is.
Yeah,
that's a matter of fact.
Different pressure playing for Forest than Manchester United.
I agree. Which is why I'm not saying we shouldn't have sold him, we should keep him and bring him back. I'm just saying, actually, when you look at his career and his trajectory, him choosing that has made him play at a higher level for the last 3 years than what we have.
Yeah.
And that's better for his career.
Next season's going to hurt a lot less if you come to terms with where we are right now, not where we've been.
Listen, I'm there, but I'm just these infamous 5. I just want to know who they think they are, quite frankly.
I said we was going to move on about 10 minutes ago. I promise we're going to move on right now. And we're going to play... We probably won't agree on this either. We are now in control of transfers, hypothetically. I want to go to each one of you, and you can't say Eric Cantona, you can't say bring back Keno, you can't say this wouldn't have happened when Bex was here. You can't say that, right? Each single one of you, I'm going to come to you for a player that you think Man United should sign, that we haven't necessarily been linked with, that is semi-realistic. Crookie, we'll start with you.
Listen, we've talked about it. It's all about goals. United, defensively, I think we were okay last year. You know, I think there's the makings of a decent defence there.
When everyone's fit.
When everybody's fit. The midfield should take care of itself. I'm hoping for a much better season for Kobbie Mainoo. Obviously, Bruno has stayed. You've got Cunha potentially and Mbeumo. So I'm going to focus on the number 9 and someone that Liverpool have been linked with this week, someone that scored goals in the Premier League now for 2 seasons in a row, someone that played a big part in Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Wouldn't cost the world, proven in the Premier League. Job done.
I like the shout. Hasn't been, very loudly received or lots out there, but I like the shout. Ange?
So if I'm looking at the goalkeeper situation, I was listening to talkSPORT last night and Marc-Andre ter Stegen was brought up. Now, he has just come back from a long injury, but has been at Barcelona over 10 years, has made over 400 appearances for them, has a lot of experience, has won a lot, 33 years of age, so not completely over the hill for a goalkeeper. You look at, they've given Szczesny a new deal. They've just signed Joan Garcia from Espanyol, who's going to be the number 1, I would imagine. So, he is potentially available. And I think until we figure out what's going on with this goalkeeper situation, he's a name that excites me in a sense, in that I think I would trust more than Anana, and I think has got a good level of experience to come to the Premier League and do a good job.
Tell you what, these are really reasonable.
Good shouts.
No pressure, Ryan.
Obviously, we know Rashford wants one club in Barcelona, right? So I'm thinking, I'm kind of doing my jiggery pokery here. I'm trying to do this little wheeling and dealing. Frankie de Jong, right? I've talked about. Hold on.
His microphone.
I've talked about
immediately.
No.
We can't do this again, Ryan.
It's 2022.
He doesn't want to come here.
But he's 28. Listen to me. Okay. In his final year, I said it was rogue. In his final year of his contract, okay? Why can't we? I mean, we need a midfielder.
Absolutely, agreed.
I think we need a midfielder. I think him pulling the strings, being that kind of, dictating the tempo of a game, that is still the perfect profile for Manchester United. I told you I'll get roasted in the comments for it. I told you. But why can't we make Rashford part of the negotiations to get someone like Frankie de Jong, who's in the final year of his contract, over the line? Why can't we do that?
Probably because Frankie de Jong still don't want to come in.
Like
Wesley Sneijder still don't want to come in.
Maybe. Whether they want to come, though, I wasn't briefed whether that...
Do you know what? I did shoot you down, but actually... You're saying there's an opportunity. Could you at least ask the question? You want Rashford?
If we can hypnotise him and make him
because he doesn't always start.
Come to United.
They've got Pedri, Gavi, and sometimes it is.
He's in the final year of his contract. He's 28 years old, and Rashford wants Barca. I think that there's something there. I know. Okay. I know that Frankie de Jong saga still haunts us all. But
that was PTSD. It was because I was just like, don't bring me back there.
And it's rogue, but that's the one I'm going to go for.
Okay, so that was rogue. Have you got a more sensible one?
Yeah, Wissa. Yeah, up front, of course. He scored more goals than Mateta in the league, 19 league goals. I'll be honest with you.
Try and hijack the deal. There's Forest trying to get...
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I would prioritise Wissa over Mbeumo. I would have done that because he's an out-and-out number 9, and technically Bruno still plays in the 10, and he's better operating in the 10 than he is in the centre of the park. So I'd be having Cunha and Bruno Fernandes in the 10s, and I'd have Wissa in the 9. 50 million. We're looking at 50 million.
I think you'll find it's cheaper than that, actually. I know £50 million is the figure that Brentford sources are quoting, but the club's in talks, I think 30, 35 is more realistic.
Cool, that even more.
So there you go. So there's my sensible one.
Okay, that
but I went rogue for content.
You've redeemed yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
For topical debate.
Exactly.
I mean,
who's yours, Flex?
Mine is Oliver Watkins. His first name's definitely Oliver, isn't it? Must be.
I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
Is this Ollie? Must be Oliver Watkins, surely. Anyway,
Mr. Watkins.
We all know who I mean. Ollie Watkins. He should be prime target for Man United. Now we can't get Gyökeres, obviously. Osimhen was never really attainable. Ekitike, 85 million release clause. We're never going to be able to do that. Ollie Watkins, for me, I know Villa fans will absolutely be saying, why would he want to come to you and this, that, and the third. We talk about steps down or steps up. Someone who scored... double figures in the Premier League for the last 5 seasons in a row, knows where the back of the net is, dependable, holds the ball up well, team player, has everything. Does he miss chances here and there? Yes. Is he the most prolific? I understand that. But he guarantees you goals. And assists as well, by the way. And you don't have to worry about any of this, wait for them to get good project striker rubbish. And I don't care about, he's 30 soon. This is another thing annoying me. As soon as somebody is 30 in the Premier League or in football now, that's it, they're done. There's no sell-on value. Forget sell-on value. We've been trying to solve this puzzle of the number 9 for ages, with God knows how many stopgaps, from Igalo to Wout Weghorst to Cavani to Romelu Lukaku to Zlatan.
Yeah.
Like, the list goes on, right? So for me, Ollie Watkins, prime number 1 target for number 9. How much would it cost? Yeah, probably quite a bit, because Villa would demand probably in excess of, 50, 60 million. I could easily imagine that. But we were trying to spend that on Victor Gyökeres and all these different strikers. If you're going to spend that, go and get me Ollie Watkins. That's what I'm all for.
Nice.
Right, there's not long to wait until our first pre-season out, and Amorim's team will travel to Stockholm to face our old enemies, Leeds United, who are fresh back into the Premier League, before embarking on a tour of the USA. Ange, for you, it's a long time. It's we haven't seen the boys in action. You kind of forget, some of the awful performances we've seen, because it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. We're all on our holidays. Maybe I'm speaking for myself, because now it's dawning on me again. We have to watch us play football, which isn't always great. What are you looking to see? First game of pre-season. We've only got 1 new player, so we would have expected to see more. But at the time of recording, we've only got 1. A lot of I've seen a lot of people on social media, a lot of social media accounts say, "Wow, the players have looked leaner than we've ever seen. Oh, look at this is,
Sorry, is someone there weighing him?
Just by the pictures, I saw Luke Shaw looking quite trim, and
the eye test.
The eye test. What are you looking to see? Style of play, confidence, goals, creation, everything.
You know what? I just want to see some change. We've been talking for over 6 months now about we need to give Amorim a pre-season. We need to give him time on the training pitch with these players. I understand he's only got 1 new player, but this is the whole... I'm not saying it's an excuse, but it's something that we've all been saying. He needs time. He needs a full season. We need to see a pre-season, etc. And he's been saying that as well. So for me, this is the moment to kind of stand up and be counted, I think. I would like to see some confidence in these players. Maybe we can kind of wipe the slate clean and go into this with a fresh attitude and a positive attitude. So I would like to see that. Intrigued to see who will be playing in those number 10 roles. Always excited to see people like Ahmad, Kobbie Mainoo, like Crookie said. I'm really rooting for him this season. I hope he has a really strong season. So looking forward to seeing him. And I'm looking forward to actually seeing Rasmus Højlund, because the thing is, as much as we've said things
These
about
faces,
him,
I know.
And I know the things that we've said, and our opinions on if he really is good enough, but we don't want to see our players do badly. We are always rooting, well, some of us, we are always rooting for our players to do. These are players that are on our roster. They're not part of the ones heading to the exit door as far as we're aware. I want to see these players do well. I feel sorry for Rasmus Højlund, and I want to see in this pre-season, especially in this first fixture, with it being against, a team like Leeds. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got to offer, and I'm really hoping that he's taken time this summer. You look at having, like I said, somebody like Cunha, then maybe somebody like Mbeumo. Psychologically, has that, lifted a weight, perhaps? And I just want to see him start this season and, try and do something. I know I might be grasping at straws, but I want to see if this is going to be our number 9, which at the time of filming, he is going to be our number 9, then I want to try and back him, and I want to see a bit of confidence.
Crookie, first of all, do you agree with that stance on, what we can expect to see from Rasmus Højlund on tour? And also, mainly, I want to ask you, how much can we take from this, and how much should we be taking, considering what we saw last season, which was totally unacceptable? We should never see it again. What would you expect as like a bounce-back pre-season? Like, should we be taking these game by game and being like, absolutely, you need to be scoring goals, you need to be on the front foot, showing that you're ready? Because a lot of people say it's just about fitness, just about getting familiar. But actually, with how bad it was last season, surely we need to see something tangible.
Yeah, and the pre-season wasn't great, was it?
No.
So that sort of set the rot, if you like. I think we do want to see more entertaining football, more goals. Like Ange, I'm looking forward to Kobbie Mainoo without the rigours of a summer tournament. I do think playing for England at the Euros took its toll. I want to see him back to his best. I'm looking forward to seeing Aiden Heaven. I think if he has a good pre-season, he could really be pushing for a first-team place. I've been that impressed with him when he has played. Lenny Yoro, I thought was probably the one player to come out of the Europa League debacle with any credit and that grim defeat in Bilbao. I want to see him stay fit and really cement his place as part of that back three that we know Ruben's going to want to play. I'm intrigued to see what he does with Bruno Fernandes, bearing in mind Cunha and maybe, hopefully, Mbeumo are coming in. And Joshua Zirkzee, actually, I mentioned him earlier. Ryan mocked it. I've hammered him at times, but I do think there's a little bit of a touch of class there. I'd be more confident about him than Rasmus Højlund. I really would.
That's a big turnaround, because I remember when we was out in Turkey.
Yeah.
Was it when we went to Fenerbahce?
It was after the Newcastle game, to be fair, at Old Trafford when he got booed off.
That was a real tough time. Yeah, it was really, really bad for him.
I've been impressed with the character he's shown since then. And obviously, he stuck away the winning penalty at Arsenal when we all expected him to miss.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to get 25 goals in a Premier League season, but I'd back him more than I would Højlund. I can't. It would take some transformation for Rasmus Højlund than what we saw in Bilbao.
Yeah, and could be a matter of confidence, and hopefully he can get his confidence up. Like you said, Ange, he's our player, but let's see what happens with him. Ryan, for you, youngsters, I want to ask you about youngsters. I mean, Goodwill Kokonki is about to sign a new contract with the club, which is fantastic, a first professional contract for him. The likes of Sekou Kone, Diego Leon has just joined the club. Harry Amas there's a lot of Chido Obi as well. How much game time do you think these boys should be getting, and how excited are you to see the sort of, the freshness brought in by the youngsters?
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. It is that freshness, that injection of freshness and optimism, and it's the bread and butter, and it's the DNA of Manchester United. We know this, and Diego Leon, I'm just looking forward.
Did you see his quotes, by the way?
No, I didn't. What was it?
He said, and I had to ask some Spanish-speaking people. I think it was Spanish was talking. He said, people think I'm going to come here and I'm going to go on loan. He said, no, I'm going to basically, I'm paraphrasing, I'm going to play amazingly well and I'm going to be in the first team.
I'm going to make it my own.
I'm going to make it my own. And I had to, I was asking people on X, does this translate to that? People like, yeah, he actually said that.
That's amazing.
Might have been tongue-in-cheek, but that's great belief.
No,
right?
it's brilliant. It's exactly what you want to hear. You want to get that attitude. And I hope that Amorim puts him into rotation for this pre-season. And just having a pre-season, I think, is the biggest pro here for Amorim, because he's come halfway through a season, he's had to change everything. It's disastrous. And let's be honest, if we're really brutally honest about this team shouldn't have finished 15th based on quality alone. It shouldn't have finished 15th. I'm not saying we should have challenged for a European spot, but it underperformed. It completely underperformed. So hopefully, with the pre-season and Amorim getting stuck into them about his system, about his philosophies, that in itself is a plus and a pro. And then integrating the youth as well. I'll be honest, just that old school, when you get a new signing through the door, can't wait to see Cunha. Can't wait to see him wearing the 10, in the 10, and, seeing what we can do for us. Will he have an instant impact like João Pedro did for Chelsea, for example? So I'm looking forward to it all. And yes, the youth hopefully get an opportunity.
Before we move on, like I said, we are playing Leeds United, which always throws up either some memories or some thought provocation for you, Crookie. Memories of playing Leeds that stick out in your head? Any favourites?
Probably bad ones, to be fair. I remember they hammered us on New Year's Day once in the Premier League. We all remember Jermaine Beckford.
Beckford was on that
FA Cup goal, but
any good ones?
I remember Cantona sticking
signing
a couple of times.
Signing Cantona.
We knew that was coming.
And first day of the Premier League season when Bruno got a hat-trick, didn't he?
Yeah, Pogba 4 assists.
Yeah.
Thought was going to win the league then.
Yeah.
Any others, guys?
I say the cynic in me, Beckford it just flashes in my mind like a nightmare, that does. But
mine, I'm going to go for the last time we played them at Ellen Road in the league, 4-2, pouring with rain. We went 2-0 up. I was in the away end as well, and they came back into it 2-2, and I'm thinking, and it was honestly, if you haven't been to Ellen Road, when that place gets going, proper old school ground, passionate fan base, really, really loud. And they turned it around, quick succession, bang, bang, 2 goals. I'm going, oh my gosh, we're going to get stuffed here from 2-0 down. And then Elanga and Fred went on to score, I think, to make it 4-2. I remember Elanga running to the away end. He was getting coins thrown at him by Leeds fans. One hit him in the head, but he came over to us, giving it all of this. So for me, that's definitely one of the Leeds United memories that stick most in my head, because they're going to be back in the Premier League this season. And remember, that game is on MUTV, and that is the place where you can catch all of Manchester United's pre-season games in the off-season, the only place to watch them. So make sure you guys get your subscriptions. Seeing as it's our first show back since last season, we can afford to start a blank page. Yes, blank page, fresh slates. That's what we're doing. And have a brief look at the huge campaign to come for Ruben Amorim's Reds. I suppose the first place to start is the fact that there's no European football this term. I mean, it was a dampener. We needed the money, but there is no European football. Should that equate to a better league position, and should that be sort of a blessing in disguise? We've been terrible. We've got this massive reset. Now we don't have a game every 3 days. Ruben's spoken about the importance to have more time on the training field.
Yeah.
Yes, it's less money and meant we couldn't attract maybe certain players, but is there a byproduct of that actually that there's more time to work on just being a better football team first?
I mean, technically it should. If it will, we'll have to see. But no, I think when you look at it, the main debate, one of the biggest discussions is players having too many games. I'm sure we're going to hear it going into this new season from, a team like Chelsea who have just had to play in this Club World Cup as well. Not really a break. So I think that it could impact when I look at some of the other teams, especially a couple of teams that, might be playing in Europe that don't necessarily have as much experience as somebody like, a Liverpool or a City, etc. Then, maybe it could affect other teams. But looking at Manchester United, you would like to think that Ruben Amorim has been talking about time on the training pitch, how important it is, how vital it is. So, I think it takes a little bit of pressure off. People will be looking for us to get European football next season. But like Crookie said, realistically, there's a lot of teams that are going to be ahead of us. So it's going to be very competitive. So I think, technically it puts us in a better position that we're just focusing on domestic football. Takes a little bit of pressure off. I think it should because you're getting extra time to train. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't like to get too excited.
No, we've learnt our lessons. For you, Crookie, listen, we've seen the fixtures. It's a tough start. I think we've got 3 of the top 6 within the first 6 games. 2 of them at home, 1 away. First game of the Premier League season at home to Arsenal, the Jokeres derby, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But how important is it to take something out of those bigger games early? Because if we take heavy defeats early on, Ruben's already on the back foot because of last season. It's really important, isn't it, that we start well, considering it is a tough start?
Yeah, I think it sets the tone because it's not uncommon to end one season dismally as we have, and then it sort of limps on into the new season. So it does need to be a fresh start. There needs to be some positivity around the place. I actually think playing Arsenal first game of the season, I'd probably rather play them then than in October, for example, when the new signings have had time to bed in and they've really hit their stride.
And it's at home.
The crowd will still be up for it. Hopefully there'll be more than just the one new face in Cunha, and obviously, the young left-back as well, but hopefully there'll be more signings through the door. So, I think take on these big teams early and try and lay down a marker. You can prove in those first half a dozen games, this is going to be better than last season. He promised this, didn't he?
Yeah.
On the pitch, Ruben Amorim, after the last home game. This is the nadir, and it has to be.
Said good times are coming. He said to you, before I told you the storm is coming, and now I tell you the good times.
He was right about the first.
So he was right about the first bit. So we've got to trust him. It's definitely going to be good now. Ryan, for you, what's realistic next season? Because is it a case of Ruben will want to avenge that sort of cup defeat to Spurs to prove that we can get silverware, so FA Cup, Carabao Cup, because that's our ceiling.
Yeah.
Or is it more important that actually we're a good Premier League team? 38 games, we see identity, we see consistency, we see excitement, we see a team going in the right direction. Which one's more important for you?
I'll be honest, it has to be both. It has to be both with no European fixtures. We've talked about it. We have to see improvement in the Premier League, of course we do, and we have to see a good cup run as well. We have to see both of those things because the cup games, relative to what Europe would throw up, are going to be few and far between. So there'll be plenty of preparation for those, and I don't think there's any danger of. I know players talk about getting exhausted. I don't think there'll be any danger of that next season. So I say we have to prioritise both. If I had to pick one. I would, now in the position that we've been in, 2 trophies in the last 3 years, I would prioritise Premier League form being good. And by prioritising that, I mean, I know breaking into Europe is going to be difficult. And again, I go back to that, where we had the tongue-in-cheek conversation earlier. We need to know where we are right now. Top half finish, challenging for something in Europe, it hurts me to say, don't get me wrong, but I think that's where we are, and I think that's progress, and I would be happy with that.
Yeah, and for you, what is success next year? Like, Ryan just spoke about top half. Neutrals could look at that and go, wow, how the mighty have fallen. United are trying to get in the top half. But when you finish 15th, we are worried about what the rest of the transfer window is going to look like. You see the strength in depth from the teams above us. Top half is like looking like the outcome, though.
Yeah, you've definitely got to be realistic. For me, I think that we've been very lucky to have some actual good memories in recent years of good cup runs, of getting to finals, of lifting trophies. I think we need to park that, to be completely honest, and we do need to focus completely on the league. If we do have a good cup run, then that's great, and maybe it's an opportunity to field some younger players, somebody like a Chido Obi, for example, to get some minutes. But I think we need to, we've won those trophies recently, and that's been a great experience, but we need to focus on the league now. We saw last season, it took, there were so many twists and turns, and we saw some really competitive teams that I think people didn't see coming. And you have to take the league, as that going into this new season. It's still going to be competitive. There still could be some surprises. So I think that's got to be the main focus for me. I kind of agree with Ryan. I think finishing top half of the table, I think is progress. If we can be competing for those European places, absolutely fantastic. I'm happy with that. But I think as a fan, I've just got to kind of humble myself, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it's true. We have to really understand where we are. Right, quick fire before we wrap up. Quick fire. Going to go down the desk, starting with you, Crookie. One player is going to have a big season, whether that be a turnaround, whether that be continue doing what they're capable of, or something out the blue.
Lenny Yoro.
Yeah, going to that next stage, becoming more physical, more dominant, more powerful. Yeah, I like the shout of that. Ange?
I'm
talking about Rasmus? Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
But I mean, Rasmus,
not enough to stick with him as the turnaround of the season?
No. Okay. I wish him well. I want him to do good. But for me, I think it's got to be Ahmad. I think what we saw last season, he gave us so many special memories. And I think he'll be hungry for more. And I think for him to build on last season, I'm expecting big things.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to go for the low-hanging fruit. I could have said both of those players, by the way, because I agree. I'm going to go Bruno Fernandes. I'm not going to say Garnacho because I'm going to say Bruno Fernandes because I don't know if he'll necessarily get as many goals as he did the season just gone, but I think he'll elevate his game to a new level because I just think he's getting better and better and better. And whether that means running games, I think that could be in his arsenal. So I'm going to go Bruno.
Okay, there's a few that I've been thinking of. For me, I'm going to go with our new number 10. I'm going to give him the backing. It has been quite negative around the club, but he, I think, will be a breath of fresh air. Someone who really adds a lot to the team and going to show why he's going to be our new number 10. So I think Mateus Cunha is going to have a very good season. I was going to say even higher than that, but let me just...
Very good's good, yeah.
Let me just very good, yeah. Right, that has been Inside Devils, sponsored by MUTV on Sky. A must for United fans to watch every pre-season fixture live and exclusive. Watch anytime, anywhere. Existing Sky TV customers can upgrade now for just £7 extra a month. Just search MUTV on Sky or go to sky.com/MUTV. £7 extra on a 31-day rolling subscription and requires HD-compatible Sky equipment and Sky TV subscription from £15 per month. Cancel MUTV on 31 days' notice. Terms apply, and we'll see you on the next episode.